Unmute, Pamela. All right. Well, welcome. Good morning and welcome to the Unity Center of Light, a spiritual community that nurtures the growth of all who are seeking to develop the potential of their spirit, mind, and body. Please join me as we affirm our mission and foundation statements together. The mission of Unity Center of Light is to empower individuals to express their indwelling divine potential. We teach there is a power within each of us far greater than anything that exists outside of us. And now let's affirm our foundation statement. Together, there is only one power and one presence active in my life and affairs, God the good, omnipotent. Amen. And now we'll have the daily word reading for today, January 22nd. The key word is power, and the affirmation is my thoughts and words reflect my divine inheritance. When I listen to my inner conversation and recurring thoughts, I may hear fear-based, limiting talk, or I may hear positive words encouraging me to live joyfully and confidently. The choice is mine. Through my divine gift of power, I take command of my thoughts and my life. I release thoughts of powerlessness, and as I do, my negative self-talk diminishes. I affirm my divine inheritance of faith, wisdom, understanding, and strength with my thoughts, words, and actions. The power to live a full life is mine. I embrace insights I've gained through experience. I own my mistakes without shame or embarrassment. I am eager to learn. I am willing to try new things and stretch myself. In power, I thrive. And the scripture is taken from Proverbs 18:21, and it reads, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruits." Amen. And today we are blessed to have Reverend Laura Barrett Bennett with us. She's going to speak to us today. Laura has almost 40 years experience in facilitating transformative spiritual education and growth for individuals and communities around the world. Laura is the founding minister and CEO of the online ministry Unity of the Heart Mind, Inc. A third-generation Unity minister, Laura grew up in Unity around some of its most famous teachers and writers. She has been the senior minister of 3 churches, the chairperson of biblical studies for Unity's ministerial and adult education programs, and has authored the book, The Language of God, Metagetics, and the Bible. She is currently creating a podcast series with her husband, Larry, entitled The Heartbeat, that addresses today's most relevant spiritual and humanitarian topics. She also plays the piano and sings and currently lives in Overland Park, Kansas with Larry and her cat, Sophia. I'll introduce to you Laura Barrett Bennett. You're on mute, Laura.
There we go. There we go. Okay. Thank you so much. What a joy it is to be with you again in Bowie, Maryland. Oh, my heart is also on the East Coast. I have my heart in 2 places. It's here in the heartland and out on the East Coast, where I have lived for many years. 2 of my ministries were in Virginia. And I grew up outside of Washington, D.C. in Fairfax. But I was born in Topeka, so I'm an old Kansas girl like Dorothy. And sometimes I click my heels and come home. And it's just great to be with you today. Today's lesson, I don't think the daily word or the chosen music that we will be hearing could be more perfect, as you will see. Today's lesson is centered on the metaphor of the tree of life. I've always been inspired by the site that Larry and I saw when we lived in Bahrain for a couple of years. And it was the biggest tourist site in the country, in the whole country that was 30 miles long and 10 miles wide, as a little island in what we know as the Persian Gulf. And anyway, in the middle of this desert island, and it literally was a desert island, the only things that really grew along the coast. But in the middle, it was just pure desert where nothing grew except one thing. And it was this large mesquite tree. It was almost, it was about 3 times as old as those trees get, and many times larger. It had lived hundreds of years, and it had a large, you can look it up, you can put Tree of Life Bahrain, and you'll see it has a large spread of branches. It's just a very, very impressive site, particularly since there isn't a living thing growing around it for miles and miles. And so they call it the Tree of Life. Also, partly because all of those creation stories that we know in the Bible, the roots of those stories are from this part of the world. The creation stories of Mesopotamia, which actually they center in that part in Bahrain and in what is now modern day Kuwait and Iraq. And so this tree is called the Tree of Life. So why is it alive in the middle where nothing else grows? Well, what they figure is it has a deep, deep root. Those trees have, and that's why they do grow in deserts. They have a very, very deep taproot, one single large root that grows to the depth to where it actually reaches water. And Bahrain literally means 2 waters, and it refers to the water that's around it, the salt water that's around it, and the fresh water that runs underneath it. So this tree reaches down to the water system that's underneath the island, and continues to live and thrive. And it has a very strong trunk to hold these huge limbs and branches. Some of them are so heavy that they have to rest on the ground. And it has, again, these sprawling branches. And as you can imagine, a lot of leaves for shade in the middle of the desert. So it's like our Tree of Life that I learned about in a very special way that I'll be sharing in a moment. Because our Tree of Life, that's how we are the Tree of Life. We have roots that are deep in spirit. And when we seek spirit, we usually go within to find these roots. We reach down within to get that nourishing juice of spirit. And we have a strong trunk of faith and self-assurance. Doesn't mean we're not human beings full of self-doubt, questioning ourselves all the time, but always what we discover in unity is that we have something within us that's more powerful, as April was bringing up when we were talking about the 12 powers and the power centers in our spiritual body. We have something within us that's greater than what is in the world. And when we know this, we want to share it with others. And this is our branches. We reach our branches out to share with others what we've discovered about ourselves. And we have many leaves to touch, that gentle, loving touch, or that embrace, or that, shading and protection from the heat of life. In fact, we did, I don't know if you all heard about the recent tragic occurrence that happened just last night in California. It's another shooting, and it was at a dance studio, and it was in celebration of the Chinese New Year, and someone came in, and we don't know all the full results yet, but these are the kind of things that happen in us. And I'm no psychoanalyst, but I think we forget who we are. When we forget who we are, we forget who others are around us, that we are truly all connected, all connected. And that we have we have this life that reaches out, and we can touch each other with our branches, rather than feeling that that separation and that fear that creates such events. I've come to realize recently about the tree of life. What's inspiring the theme of this talk was my experience just recently. Back in November, Larry and I were merrily making podcast videos, and we were going to do it through the end of the year and then pick up in the new year and so forth. And then our work got interrupted because I went to see a neurologist. I was having some numbness and spasms in my face, and I just wanted to be sure it wasn't anything serious happening. And so the neurologist recommended an MRI. And so I got the MRI, and then they called and they said, well, we need a second MRI because we think we saw something. So I went in for a second MRI, and they focused on the upper cervical spine in my neck. And when I was done with that, the technician pointed to this dark spot on my upper cervical. And then a few days later, I heard from the doctor's office, and basically it started like this: you have a malignancy. And then I was told that I was being referred to a neurosurgeon, that I would likely be having surgery and radiation and all those lovely things that go with such challenges, as some of you probably are aware of what such a challenge can be. And God bless you if you are, because you are nothing less than a true hero of healing. Anyway, so I went to the neurosurgeon. But in the meantime, I turned to prayer. That's that deep root in spirituality. And I turned to this book. I pulled it off my shelf. You Can Be Healed is what it says. This is an older copy. Clarence, or not Clarence, but Clara Palmer is an old Unity writer. And this book was written, back in the 20s or 30s. And in it, she said, and by the way, she has a chapter on different parts of the body and how we can heal that different part of those different parts of the body. She named her book, You Can Be Healed. This was long before Louise Hay with You Can Heal Your Life. But I went to the spine, and it called the spine the Tree of Life. The book did. And it said, within your body, his temple, the living temple of the Christ, the light of divinity shines. A restorative stream of life and harmonizing peace flows along your spinal cord. Each nerve of your body is a messenger in the service of the spirit of life. So again, when we recognize our wholeness, we also recognize that we are messengers in the service of the spirit of life. So I did this prayer treatment every day between tests. When I went to the neurosurgeon said, well, before I do surgery, I like to see what's going on in the soft tissues. So we're going to take a CT scan. So they took a CT scan. This was a couple of weeks later. And when I returned to the neurosurgeon for the results, he was showing me the two images. He says, here's your MRI with the lesion on your spine. Here's your CT scan. And they could not find anything in the CT scan. He said, we're going to do a full bone scan, head to foot, he called it the tiebreaker. And so they did this cross-section full thing with the machines. I learned a lot about the labs in the, in the hospital. And then a few days later, they called me and said, "You're good. We can't find anything of concern." Now, that all of this took about 6 weeks overall, all this process. But what happened? What happened? They still didn't know. They saw a very clear image on one and not on the others. Not the first time it's happened, they said, but sometimes that does happen, and that's part of the reason they do the follow-ups. So here I am, living fully, living life joyfully, and having learned a lot in that whole process, because you get news like that and life takes a whole different look. But what I did discover is that all of us have this inner tree of life. All of us have the tree of life within us. In Revelation, it really points to this tree of life very clearly. And I suspect, I haven't read anything that backs me up, but I suspect this might be where one of the things that inspired Charles Fillmore and the 12 Powers. And it's in the 22nd chapter of Revelation, where it says, "On either side of the river is the tree of life with its 12 kinds of fruit, producing its fruit each month, and the leaves of the tree are for the healing of the nations." The leaves of the tree are for the healing of the nations. And we are not, this is not a lesson on 12 powers, so we're not going to do this lengthy go power by power lesson right now. That is for other times. But the number 12 in the Bible represents fulfillment, about as full as fulfillment can get. 7 represents completion. 12 represents fulfillment, whole and full and rich and complete. And so the tree of life is whole, it's complete. It already is what it is. And it is something, whatever your physical condition, whatever your life condition, whatever the condition of the world, this is something that everyone who is alive today has right here, right now. We all have within us this tree of life that we can access. And yet in Genesis, according to that story, our access was cut off from the tree of life. It is a tree of eternal life. You know, it has one point where God says, well, we've got to cut them off from the tree of life, lest they eat the fruit of that tree, as well as the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. And they learn and they live forever. And the way to understand that is not a punishment. This is not a punishment. This is an explanation of consciousness. And when we are in that dualistic state of mind, when we are separating good from bad, when we are making judgments accordingly, value judgments accordingly, that cannot last. There is no way you can have that dualism going on in your mind and have it last. That's why you cannot connect with the tree of life consciously, with the sense of eternal life in that state of mind. So partaking of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, there's nothing wrong with being aware of life-giving energy in all of its forms, of its polarities as well, creation and destruction, pleasant and unpleasant. In fact, without being two, we wouldn't be one, because it takes two to create the one that you are. So there's nothing wrong with having a sense of duality. But when dualism influences and dominates your judgments of yourself and others, then you can get these unequal judgments. You can get this fear base built up either in individual or mass consciousness, and it has some horrific results, as we have seen in our world. So you might hear my cat in the background agreeing with me. Actually, she just wants to play. All right. So what is it that we do that cuts us off from the tree of life? Well, we eat of the forbidden fruit. The forbidden fruit I'll talk about in a moment, but I'm going to give you the cure to the forbidden fruit, and it goes very much with today's daily word. Woohoo! It really does. The forbidden fruit is cured with golden apples, with the metaphor of golden apples that we find also in Proverbs, as today's daily word quoted from. It said, "A word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in a setting of silver." So keep that in mind. That's our transformational power that moves in and transforms that forbidden fruit into a golden apple. A word fitly spoken. So what does a word fitly spoken do? Well, for me, giving those prayer treatments, I experienced healing. I experienced a healing. I don't know what happened physically. I do know that my outlook on life became very much more holistic, very much expanded, very much filled with gratitude for the little things. Even the little things that used to be irritations in life let me know that, wow, I'm alive and this is great. And it also gave me tremendous gratitude for all of the people I have known in my life, all of them, friends and people who played that adversarial role in my life, so that it woke me up to who I am more. And God bless them. God bless those teachers. And anyway, family, and then even when something is happening in the world, I'm not grateful for everything that happens in the world, believe me, but I am grateful for the humanity in the midst of it, for the people discovering their strength and their ability to reach out and comfort each other, and the depth of the human emotional experience in losing something you love, and only to have it make you more sensitive to loving what you have. So healing is an interesting process. And it's not that we aren't whole already. You'll hear Unity teachers say, we don't need healing because we're whole already. And they are right. Now, here's the thing. So then what is healing really? What is healing at the level I'm speaking of? We don't need to be made, a certain thing, a certain way that we are already. So what is healing? Deepak Chopra said, healing is the return to the memory of wholeness. Healing is the return to the memory of wholeness. It's remembering what we already are. And now the slide, April. I'm a little farther into my talk than I thought I'd be, but now we could use the slides there. We'll do 4 in a row here. There we go. There we go. Can everybody, I hope everybody can see that all right. And I'll just read through it. Myrtle Fillmore said that healing is threefold in her healing letters. She said that healing is threefold. She said, the health law is threefold. Spiritual, keeping a person assured of his God-given freedom from all anxiety and worry and fear and lack. Mental, giving him the intelligence that enables him always to do that which promotes health and success. Physical, forming those habits which keep him making the right use of all his faculties and powers, and the life, energy, and substance of the body. So we have a trifold healing within ourselves when we heal, but I'm going to say a little bit more about the body when we get to that. Okay, we're going to keep it here for a little while, April, and you can see the confirmation of the power of the golden apple of the word fitly spoken here Daily declare, she says, that your spiritual life and world, your mental life and world, your physical life and world are unified, and that you are expressing harmoniously the ideas of the Christ mind, the whole Spirit of God, on these three planes. Okay. So what happens? What happens? Let's break it down by level, and we'll just quickly move through each level. The first is the spiritual level. And the forbidden fruit of the spiritual level is what we call spiritual bypassing. Spiritual bypassing. When we get an idea of what spirituality is, that's beautiful. But spiritual bypassing can lead to a schism between you and your healing need by refusing to see what it is that is calling you to heal. You know, something's calling you when you have a healing need, that needs to be healed. It could be an emotional thing, it could be a relationship, it could be something in your life, something in your body. All these are symptoms of the separation we feel from the source of who we are, from our inner tree of life, from our own spiritual essence. Now my cat is knocking things off the counter. So she's really wanting that attention because she's feeling separated right now. But I know she will find her wholeness soon. So we become afraid to face what is challenging us because we forget what is within us. We may have anxiety or a sense of lack, or not being enough, or not having enough. Yet Myrtle said the health law is keeping a person assured of his or her God-given freedom from anxiety, fear, and lack. How? By remembering who we are and speaking to that truth. Many people have learned to be with, now you can move to the next slide. Here we go. Here's the golden apple for the forbidden fruit of spiritual bypassing. Many people have learned to speak with what is so in life and the golden apple words, I am a spiritual being having a human experience. How many of us have heard or said that ourselves? I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. Well, what if it was a little different? What if we just shifted it just a wee bit? It's not only I am a spiritual being having a human experience, but I am spirit having a human experience. I am spirit. I'm not just a being, separate and distinct. I am all that is having this human experience. All of the infinite, creative, loving, and healing power is who I already am. And there is no human experience or condition that I cannot be with or send love into. So let's say this affirmation. Just read it right there on your screen together. I am spirit having a human experience. And again, I am spirit having a human experience. And just feel that in the depth of your being. Okay, keep it there for a moment, April, while I talk about the next forbidden fruit, which is in our mind. Okay, so what is the forbidden fruit of the mind? It's it's judgmentalness. Now, not judgment. Judgment is one of the 12 powers that we now know as wisdom. It's judgmentalness. When your mentality, when judgment comes from mentality or intellect alone, because when your intellect is telling you what's going on in your life or in your world, you might say to yourself, because I have this condition, this is my fate. Because this person has done or said something to hurt me, I don't like them. Because I have failed, I will always fail. These are things that judgmentalness tells us. It tells us not just that about ourselves, it has us looking at others and judgmentally deciding who they are to us or for us. What if we truly took on Gary Simmons' teaching that, we have no enemies? Or Jesus' teaching to love your enemies, love those whom you think are your enemies. Wow, what a transformed world this would be. Judgmental attitudes and words serve to separate us. But we must be very careful not to judge ourselves for being judgmental. That's just caught up in the same vicious circle. Rather, we can transform our judgments into spiritual discernment and wisdom. We don't have to, be buddy-buddy and spend time with everybody in our lives when being around that person creates an effect that we don't care for in our own lives. But we can have the inspirational intelligence to which Myrtle referred that promotes health and success in ourselves. Seeing what is so in our lives and judging it simply as what is so. And holding to the truth that love is showing us the way. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. And how do we find that love? When you are ready to release the burden of carrying the weight of what others have done in your heart, you can give someone a golden apple by saying, I love you. I bless you. I let you go to your highest good, and I see you whole and free. So if there's anyone in our judgmental thinking of our mind right now that we feel that way about, you can bring them to mind right now and affirm this truth. If you're ready to do that. And if you're not, that's okay. It will come. It will come. So let us say this together. I love you. I bless you. I let you go to your highest good, and I see you whole and free. And then a little exercise we can do for ourselves is to look in the mirror and say the same thing, or something like it. I love you. I bless you. I'm sending you to your highest good. And what a gift we can give ourselves. Okay. All right. Keep it there for a moment while I talk about the next forbidden fruit. So the next forbidden fruit is the forbidden fruit that we have about our bodies. All right. Because our body might not be meeting some standard of perfection set forth by the conditions of the world. It's so easy. So easy. No worries. No worries. Larry dropped his coffee cup onto a loud plate. So it's so easy to judge ourselves and our physical being. It's so easy to reject our own body. In our human experience, we have been known to call ourselves too fat, too ugly, too weak, too stupid in the brain, or we may be angry at some part of the body that's not feeling well or not living up to those standards. Or even one of the dysfunctional things that I have in my life, I am just having a bad hair day. My hair is not meeting the standards that I would like it to meet. Now, my hair looks fine now because I'm staying inside, but if I were to go out in the drizzle for 5 minutes, I would come back in very unhappy with my hair. So there's just these constant little judgments that we put onto our own bodies. So what is the golden apple for the body? It is remembering that your body is the setting of shining, glistening spiritual silver for the golden apples of your powerful words. It is remembering that it is a temple of the divine creation, without which this life and world could not be known and experienced. This is what I learned to be grateful for, is just the very physical beingness that has allowed me to experience all of life exactly in the way it has been experienced. And so we can move to our next slide. Love your body. Every part of it. That's in one of the books describing Myrtle's healing. It says she sat and she went through her whole body, every part of it, and asked each part, it told each part that she loved it, that she asked forgiveness if she thought of it as anything less than what it truly is. And say to yourself, I am the temple of the living God. The divine expresses in, through, and as me. I am whole, I am healed, and I am a healing presence in my world. Let's say that together. I am the temple of the living God. The divine expresses in, through, and as me. I am whole, I am healed, and I am a healing presence in my world. This is what will confirm your place in the world as the tree of life. So again, I don't know if what I experienced was an actual miraculous physical healing. You could say that you could use the evidence. I even have the written report that said I had a malignancy, and then the next one that says, no, we couldn't find it. But you can actually do something like that. And I don't know if healing came in that way, actually, but I do know that it came in my outlook on life. I can see a world filled with things that I'm just so grateful right now for every moment of life. You know, my sister passed away last year, and I still have the grief, and I still have my grieving moments. But right now, what I feel is the gratitude for having known someone like my sister, for having grown up with someone like my sister. And that's heartwarming. That gives me joy, a deep joy and gratitude for life. And I have been, you know, I have also come to know that healing comes in many forms. It's not just healing from, you know, the way I experienced it, but also healing in what my sister finding it by finding the final piece of letting go of her body. I have walked many people over the years through this process and have had the privilege of doing so in this divine work that we do as Unity ministers. We all have tremendous value in our world, or else we wouldn't be here. So if you have value to give to your world, the test is, are you here? Then you have value to give to your world. Martin Luther King, speaking to young people at Barrett Junior High School in Philadelphia, said, don't allow anybody to make you feel that you're nobody. No matter what you think you have or don't have going for you that you can give the world. Don't allow anybody to make you feel that you're nobody. Always feel that you count. Always feel that you have worth, and always feel that your life has ultimate significance. If you are going to be a street sweeper, he said, then sweep streets like Michelangelo. Whatever you do in life, you can do it like Michelangelo. Direct from spirit, with a full heart and focused mind, and with a body that gives you the ability to touch the whole world. Just by making a difference in your corner of it. Mother Teresa said if she had tried to think of all of the children in the world that needed the help and assistance that she gave the children, she never would have done anything. She would have sat overwhelmed and given up. But she thought of it as one child at a time. She did what was right in front of her. She worked with the great being who was right in front of her. And that's how she healed and worked with so many. There is so much that you have to give. Deeply rooted in spirit with a strong trunk of spiritual conviction and branches that reach out to touch the people of your life and world. Your life is not just yours. It is a tree of life. And the leaves of the tree are for the healing of the nations. And we're going to do a very brief meditation right now to feel that tree of life within us. So if you need to shift or do anything to be more comfortable, and just let yourself feel what you're feeling and be exactly where you are right now in life. And if your feet are touching the floor, that's fine. If they're folded under you, if you're sitting on a sofa or bed or some comfortable place, that's fine too. But feel yourself, feel the energy of your body rooting itself in the ground as your thoughts, as you take a deep breath and your thoughts go inward to spirit. Feel yourself rooted in spirit. Feel yourself rooted in the creative life of the whole earth. And let that life energy now move up through your feet and your legs, your hips, and come to the trunk of your abdominal area. This is the trunk of your tree, wherein dwells all of the strength you will ever need. That power of strength is located in the hips and groin area and the lower abdomen, where it has you stand firm and strong or sit firm and strong in your world. That spiritual strength gives you all the assurance because greater is that in you than anything right now that is in your world. Feel the strength of the trunk of your tree of life and let that strong, powerful energy move all the way up into the chest and feel it opening up the heart chakra as love comes pouring out from the center of your tree of life. And let that love now send forth its healing waves into your arms and out your fingers and through your legs and out your toes and up through your mind and out the crown of your head to connect you with the whole universe. You may even want to reach out your arms like the branches of the tree and touch the people in your life. Touch the people of your world and bless them with this divine and healing love. And know that you are a temple of the living God, a center of universal life. And the leaves of your tree are for the healing of the nations. Let yourself reflect and relax in this truth for one moment of silence. And take a deep breath. You are spirit having a human experience. You can release all that you no longer need and be the divine center of healing life that you are in this world. And so it is. You are the light of the world, Jesus said. Let your light shine. In the name and after the nature of that divine presence, that divine consciousness in us and in all. It is so. Amen. And God bless you. And my cat is a meditation cat. As soon as we started meditating, she stopped all of her rustling around and jumped up on the table to join us. And let's see, there she is.